The silence of Rihan's mansion was almost suffocating that night. A vast dining hall filled with chandeliers, golden cutlery, and a table that could seat 20, yet only one man sat at its head. His 50th birthday, and instead of the laughter of children or the warm chatter of a family, all he heard was the clinking of a spoon against his untouched soup. Rihan Khan was a man who had built empires with his bare hands. He had risen from poverty, worked day and night, clawed his way up the corporate ladder, and eventually became one of the wealthiest men in the country. He had everything most people only dream of: mansions, sports cars, private jets. Yet inside he was hollow. "What good is all this?" he muttered to himself, staring at the marble floor. "If I have no one truly mine." That night, he made a decision that would change not only his life, but the lives of 4 women around him. He decided to give away something that most would never dream of holding in their hands: 4 unlimited credit cards. But this wasn't merely generosity. Deep inside, Rihan wanted to test the meaning of loyalty, love, and gratitude. He wanted to see who, among those closest to him, valued more than just his wealth. The next morning, his staff received unusual instructions. "Prepare the dining hall," he ordered. "I will host 4 special guests tonight." By evening, the 4 women sat around the glittering table. The first was Sarah, his former lover. Years ago, she had promised him forever, but walked away when his work consumed his time. She had since lived a life chasing glamour, moving from one rich man to another. She smiled now, draped in jewels, her eyes scanning the mansion as if calculating its worth. The second was Mehak, his only sister. She had often accused him of forgetting family, of drowning himself in wealth while their relatives struggled. Their relationship was strained, but blood still tied them together. She sat stiffly, pride and bitterness mixed in her gaze. The third was Zara, a striking socialite. Beautiful, bold, and admired at every party. She had recently been seen at Rihan's side in magazines. Yet Rihan knew deep down that Zara's love was not for him but for the lifestyle he represented. And then there was Aliyah, the maid. A quiet, humble woman who had worked in his house for 5 years. She came not in diamonds or silk but in her plain uniform, her hands rough from endless scrubbing. She sat nervously at the edge of her chair, unsure why she had been invited at all. Rihan stood, holding 4 sleek, black cards between his fingers. "Each of you has played a role in my life," he said, his voice echoing. "Tonight, I give you these unlimited cards. Spend as you wish. No limits, no restrictions. But remember, what you choose will reveal more about you than you think." The women's eyes widened, though only Aliyah hesitated. To her, the card felt heavier than gold, as if carrying the weight of choices she was not prepared to make. 2. Sarah's path, glitter and emptiness. Sarah wasted no time. The very next day, she was in the city's most expensive boutique. She filled racks with designer gowns, diamonds, and rare perfumes. She posted selfies online with captions like, "Back to living the life I deserve." Her followers envied her, never knowing the truth. But Rihan, quietly watching from afar, noticed something. Sarah never once called to thank him, never once asked about his health, his days, or his loneliness. To her, the card was a ticket back to the spotlight. A month later, Sarah invited him to a dinner party. He arrived quietly and watched as she bragged to her friends about her resources. She laughed louder, smiled wider, but when her eyes met his, there was no warmth, only calculation. That night, Rihan left early, his heart heavy. "So this is what I meant to her," he whispered. "A bank, not a man." Mehak's path. Pride and family politics. Mehak used the card differently. At first, she cleared debts that had haunted her husband's failed business. She paid off loans, bought her children expensive gadgets, and suddenly, the family who once pitied her began treating her with reverence. But with power came arrogance. She threw lavish family parties, inviting relatives just to show them her new status. She boasted, "My brother finally remembered his blood. Look at what we can do now." Rihan visited one of those gatherings quietly. He saw children playing with toys they didn't appreciate, adults gossiping about his wealth, and Mehak standing tall with pride, forgetting the years she had cursed him for not helping. One relative whispered, "She only flaunts because of her brother. Without him, she is nothing." Rihan's chest tightened. He had hoped his sister would use the card to mend their broken bond. Instead, she used it as a weapon of pride. Zara's path, beauty and betrayal. Zara lived like a queen. She moved into a luxury penthouse, bought a red sports car, and hosted wild parties every week. Her circle of friends expanded, filled with influencers, models, and businessmen. Her calls to Rihan grew less frequent. At first, she invited him to events, but when he didn't fit the glamorous crowd, she stopped. Soon, he only saw her in glossy magazines, photographed with men half his age. One night, Rihan tried calling her. She didn't answer. Hours later, a photo surfaced online, Zara laughing at a rooftop party, glass in hand, surrounded by strangers. The caption read, "Living life without limits." Rihan stared at the photo, the ache in his chest deepening. So, he sighed, she never cared for me, only for what I could provide. The Aaliyah's path, the unexpected choice, but Aaliyah, she was different. Rihan noticed strange transactions on her card. Small amounts at grocery stores, payments to clinics, school fees at rundown institutions. Curious, he followed her one afternoon. She didn't go to malls or salons. Instead, she took a crowded bus to a poor neighborhood. Rihan, disguised, trailed behind her. There he saw her carrying bags of food into a widow's home, paying tuition for orphans, buying medicines for an elderly man. She spoke gently to each family, never once mentioning where the money came from. She wore the same worn-out shoes, her clothes as simple as ever. She gave, and gave, yet kept nothing for herself. That evening, Rihan confronted her. "Why, Aaliyah? Why didn't you buy anything for yourself?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Sir, every day I see suffering on my way home. Children without books, mothers without food. I couldn't buy silk dresses knowing they were starving. I have enough with my wages. They have nothing." Rihan felt his throat tighten. For the first time in years, he was speechless. The revelation weeks passed. Sarah's world crumbled when her reckless spending was exposed online. Followers mocked her, and those who once envied her disappeared. Mehak's family turned bitter again once debts returned. Her relatives whispered behind her back, calling her arrogant. Zara's so-called friends left when she could no longer maintain her reckless parties. She was alone in her penthouse, surrounded by luxury but empty inside. But Aaliyah, the poor neighborhood she helped, flourished. Children went to school, families had food, and elders prayed for her every night. She had created hope where there was none. One evening, Rihan gathered all 4 women in his mansion again. He looked at each one slowly, his voice heavy with truth. "Money is a mirror," he said. "It shows us who we truly are. Some of you used it to shine in the eyes of the world. One of you used it to bring light into others' darkness." He turned to Aaliyah. "You have taught me the true meaning of wealth. From today you are not just my maid, you are my partner. Together, we will build schools, hospitals, and shelters. We will change lives." The other 3 lowered their heads in shame. But Aaliyah stood frozen, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. She had never imagined the man she served daily would see her heart above her position. From that day, Rihan's emptiness began to heal. With Aaliyah's guidance, he poured his wealth into purpose. They became a team, changing lives not for recognition but for humanity. And the millionaire who once gave away 4 unlimited cards finally understood the greatest riches are not in what we keep, but in what we give. To call to action for YouTube audience. So, my dear viewers, if someone handed you an unlimited card today, what would you do with it? Would you spend it on yourself or share it with those who need it most? Tell us in the comments, because your words might inspire someone else watching this right now. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Be Kind Always. Together, let's keep spreading kindness, compassion, and stories that remind us of what truly matters in life.